Ladies and gentlemen, the Black Friday sales has descended upon Marvel Future Fight, and I pray for your wallets after this one. I would say hide your credit card bills, but boys, them things probably gonna be too big for you to hide. But nonetheless, man, I told you guys that we're gonna do a video dedicated to the uniforms in Marvel Future Fight because all of the uniforms are currently on sale for 50% off. So for this video, what I wanted to talk to you guys about is some of the must-buy uniforms for me currently in Marvel Future Fight. Uniforms that are super OP in the current state of the game and will still have value going into 2019. Now, keep in mind that a must-buy uniform may be different for you than it is for me. It could just be that your favorite character getting a uniform, it is immediately a must-buy for you just because you have so much love for the character, even if it only makes them 5 or 10% stronger. However, for me, I'm looking for the best bang for my buck. I'm looking for uniforms that take characters from pure garbage to godly, or take characters from just average to beyond godly, right? Those are the uniforms that I'm going to be highlighting in this video. So take a look at all the uniforms that I currently own. You can see I own a lot of uniforms and I've played with everything extensively. However, you will notice that some of them, even though it is a good upgrade for the character, I do not give them that favorite. And the reason why I don't give them a favorite is because ultimately, I don't think I got my money's worth with the uniform. I feel like it was a letdown, and I'm still in a place where I'm waiting for a better uniform for said character. So because of that, right, even though this is a great uniform for Logan, it makes him the best he can possibly be in the game right now, I can't realistically recommend this to anyone because honestly, even though it's gonna be much better than this and this and this, right, it's still going to be a letdown and people are going to feel like they wasted their money, and that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to test things for you, let you know whether or not I think you're going to enjoy what you paid for. So just keep that in mind. I'm also going to exclude Vision from this list, even though this is a cheap uniform and it is actually very good. I'm looking for uniforms that turn characters into gods. So again, just keep that in mind. And if you want to see where I rank absolutely every uniform in the game, go down there in the description box of every single video. There is an official Scrub Nation tier list for you all to enjoy. Okay, all the characters in the game are ranked every time we get a new update, and the same goes for all of the new uniforms. So let's go at the top here, and I'll talk to you guys a little bit. So everything that is favorite is a uniform that I purchased, I played with, I enjoy, and if I had to purchase it again, I would because I still see value in it. Now, you will see some duplicates here, like, for example, Ant-Man. That's simply because he has two different uniforms, but they're just visual changes for the character and they perform exactly the same. Now, most of you guys are sleeping on Ant-Man, and honestly, with Colossus now being a part of Timeline, he's not as good as he once was, but Ant-Man is still actually a solid character in this uniform and I enjoyed. So for me, it is a must buy if you're an Ant-Man fan, but it may not be a must buy overall. Okay, keep that in mind. Now, moving on to Apocalypse. We're not doing a full in-depth review for every single one of these uniforms. If you want to hear my thoughts on them, I have dedicated videos for every single one of these uniforms. Okay, so Apocalypse, going from this to this, it is an upgrade. How big of an upgrade still remains to be seen, but seeing as though this is the first uniform for Apocalypse, right, it is kind of a must buy if you're a fan of Apocalypse because it gives him mind control and it gives him much better damage than he had previously. I do need to reroll this from physical attack to energy attack, so don't roast me in the comments. I just ranked this thing up because I wanted to get rid of some of the feathers and the M-Crown crystals out of my inventory, right, because there's still a cap. Moving on, we have Cable, the OG DPS god. Now, The question here for many of you guys is, if you had this uniform previously, X-Force Cable, should you be buying this one right here, the Cable and Deadpool uniform that has my boy looking like RoboCop or the Marvel Future Fight Terminator? The answer to that question is abso-freaking-lutely. This uniform makes Cable way stronger than he ever was with the base or this uniform right here, right? In addition to that, he's way easier to play. You can literally just start up the fight, stand in place, kill the enemy. That's it. Game over. 5 seconds. Cable is an absolute monster in this uniform, so it is absolutely a must buy. This is not one of those situational must buys where if you really like the character like Ant-Man, right, it's a great upgrade, or Apocalypse. No, no, no. Cable is a must buy, must buy. You gotta buy it if you want to have one of the strongest characters in the game. Point blank, period. No cap. Moving on. We have Captain America. Speaking of no cap, show the captain some love. So check it out. If you want the strongest version of Captain America and one of the strongest combat characters in the game, you are looking at him. Whether you want the team suit or the Endgame uniform, it is an absolute must buy for Captain America, right? His uniform is basically like, okay, this is Captain America before he became a super soldier. This is Captain America after he became a super soldier. You dig? It's that kind of an upgrade. It's like he went from being able to like barely hold a grenade to literally calling Mjolnir and smashing Thanos in the face. Yeah, these are the kind of upgrades that I consider must buys, and Captain America is the epitome of that. You can pick up either one and you will have an amazing combat character. Not just that, not one of the best characters in the game. Moving on, we have Sharon Rogers, a character that I still need to get a uniform to Mythic. I have everything I need, but I'm just a slacker. I'm a procrastinator, professional, right? This uniform is an absolute must buy. It's not a situational must buy where if I like the character, I should buy this uniform because it's the strongest version of them. No, this is an absolute must buy. If you want one of the strongest PvE blast characters in the game, you are looking at her. DPS is off the charts on this girl, okay? No cap. Moving on. Say no cap, and then another cap will appear. Anyways, boys, Captain Marvel, okay? This girl is one of the strongest PvE and PvP characters in the game. If there is one uniform you do not have that you absolutely need from the row that I just, like, you know what I'm saying, just looked at, this is the one. This is the one. You can skip over Cable and still have an amazing PvE character. You cannot skip over Captain Marvel's uniform and have an amazing PvE or PvP character. She does little to no damage. She has decent survivability, but it's Shadowland survivability, which is garbage, okay? Pick up this uniform or even this one, but you shouldn't pick up this. It's out there. It's still good, but it's nothing compared to this. The damage is just off the charts, and her PvP value is just mental. You can build her anywhere you want, and she's going to be dominant. Be careful with her though, because she's gentle. She's gentle on the defense, you know what I'm saying? Moving on, we have my boy Colossus. Now, this is one of those situational must-buys, where if you like my guy Peter or Pitor, right, you should pick up this uniform because this is the strongest version of him, and he's also an amazing PvP tool. He's a mid-tier PvE character, but he's an amazing PvP support character. So pick your poison. If you care about winning in timeline, you might need this uniform because he's going to buff your Thanos, he's going to buff your Jean Grey, he's going to buff your Captain Marvel. He's basically going to make all of your PvP characters tankier, right? That's what he brings to the team. That's what this uniform does for you. So if you don't need more support for PvP content, you can skip over that one. It's a situational must buy. This one right here, also a situational must buy. If you really like Cyclops, this uniform is not bad. It definitely speaks a lot in regards to just how much better he becomes with it, the healing, the damage, all that. But a lot of Cyclops' value comes from him being at tier 3. This uniform definitely is a part of his value now, but the tier 3 is a greater part. So situational must buy here for me. Moving on, we have Lady Deadpool and X-Force Deadpool. In my opinion, both of these uniforms are must buy. If you don't have a problem with Deadpool becoming a female and you don't mind trying to figure out a new rotation for him, you should definitely pick up the Lady Deadpool uniform. This is, in my opinion, the strongest version of Deadpool right now. However, if you have the X-Force Deadpool uniform, you've invested into it heavily, and you don't feel like doing the same thing again, you can skip over it and wait for a new uniform for Deadpool at some point in the future. Not sure when that's gonna be, but this uniform right here, the Lady Deadpool uniform, is definitely an upgrade over the X-Force uniform. I personally love this look for Wade. It's one of my all-time favorite looks for him. So putting him in the Lady Deadpool uniform, it's hard to do. It's hard to do, but I definitely respect the power of that uniform. Moving on, speaking of power, we have Steven the goddamn Demon, okay? This guy right here is arguably the strongest PvE, right, Blast character, just because of his defense down on his tier 3. Now, you can get good damage out of Steven with this uniform or even with the base kit, but trust me when I say, when you pick up this uniform, his value will be off the charts. He can do PvP because he has iframe ignore, and he can just do PvE at the highest possible level. The only game mode where he just doesn't completely dominate is GBR because his defense down does not work there. So just keep that in mind. Steven is an amazing character, and that uniform just adds to his value. Then we got my boy Tony 3 Stacks, Mr. 3000. We love you, baby. And boys, you gotta pick up either of these uniforms for Tony, because this is where it's at. If you want to play with the strongest version of one of the most iconic characters ever, you know what I'm saying? You gotta pick up the Endgame uniform for Tony, because this one gives him damage and survivability. It definitely fixes all the previous mistakes that we had to endure to get here. This is progress. This is power. This is awesomeness. Show some respect to Tony 3 Stacks. God damn it. Moving on. We have, in my opinion, the queen of the Blast category and the strongest overall Blast character in the game. Listen to me, people. Okay? Jean Grey is the strongest Blast character in the game in terms of survivability, damage, and utility, right? Steven may be able to overpower her, but what she lacks in PvE when it comes to World Boss Ultimate, she makes up for in Giant Boss Raid and in PvP. So this uniform right here is an essential because of what it provides. It gives her more attack, and it gives her an insane amount of survivability, which she didn't need because she already had good healing and a revive. Jean Grey is absolutely disgusting, right? So yeah, you need that if you want to have that kind of power on your hands. Then we got Luna Snow. Both uniforms for Luna Snow are actually really good, but if you want to have the strongest female speed character in the game, this lifestyle uniform is exactly what you need. It gives her cold defense down, gives her a much smoother rotation, bumps up her survivability, and takes her damage to the next level. The Andromeda uniform is good enough to get the job done, so if you don't feel like buying another uniform for a premium character and then having to take that to Mythic, you can settle for this until she gets something else, because she's Netmarble's baby. She's the Marvel Future Fight team's, like, seriously, love child. So I see another uniform in her future at some point. So you could skip over the lifestyle if you don't have the funds. It's Black Friday. You're going to be spending a lot of crystals anyway. So yeah, might want to like prioritize if you need to. Then we have, you know what I'm saying, my guy, Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, lost the beard. Went back to looking kind of basic. It is what it is, but this uniform is far from basic. Gives him a massive attack buff, right? Basically, a leadership as his uniform bonus. Gives him accumulation, another accumulation because he has one on his tier 3 already. Gives him invincibility, which bumps up his survivability and takes his damage to the next level. If you are a fan of Mr. Fantastic, this uniform is absolutely stellar. The highest stage I've been able to clear with this guy solo, like solo, no strikers, right, is actually like stage 70 Corvus, which is pretty mental, right? So yeah, just keep that in mind. Mr. Fantastic is a beast in this uniform. And then we have, in my opinion, as of right now, right, the strongest combat character in the game for PvE content at the very least. Captain America will overshadow this guy when it comes to PvP. But when we're talking PvE content, GBR, World Boss, ABX, Namor is your guy. And if you want some extra utility out of him, this Phoenix 5 uniform definitely is what you need, because it gives him that elemental kick, so you can use him against Ebony Maw, and it also turns him into a super villain, whereas his base form is a superhero. So This one, I guess I would say this is a situational must buy, but it's more of a must buy than a situational must buy, if you get what I'm saying. Just because Namor's already at the top of the game, and this just push him like even further, right? So it's gonna be hard for Namor to get another uniform that does as much as this one does for him, because his next uniform is probably gonna make him a hero. So again, he's gonna lose some utility in my opinion. So moving on, we have a situational must buy here for Nicholas Joseph Fury, one of the most useful characters in the game for PvP and PvE. This is a situational must buy. If you use Nick Fury on a regular, then this uniform will definitely show its value in War Boss, and it can also show its value in Timeline Battle, because we have a lot of super villains there, and Nick Fury is a decent PvP standalone character. Okay, so this is kind of like Colossus, but just a little bit more, because you're gonna use Nick Fury if you have him for War Boss, for his leadership and his support, right? Whereas with Colossus, you're basically only using him as a support tool. Okay, moving on, another situational must buy here for one of the most powerful characters in the game for PvE content. She can also do PvP if you wish, and that's actually my baby Betsy. Absolutely love Psylocke. This uniform increases her damage exponentially and gives her some extra survivability. A situational must buy, but a very, very, very good uniform for a character, in my opinion, that is already God tier without, right, a uniform. So if you want to get some extra damage out of her, bump up her survivability, this is a definite for me. Moving on, we have Pietro. And both of his uniforms are very good. They're damn near identical in terms of how much damage you do, but this one right here offers some extra attack speed, which will help you max out your attack speed and get some extra stats into something else. So if you don't have a uniform for Pietro, pick this one up, because it fixes what was wrong with the base, which was his third skill overriding his ISO set proc, and because of that, he now does insane amount of damage in either uniform pre-tier 3, right? But at tier 3, he is, in my opinion, the strongest speed character in the game. Point blank, period. Sorry, Luna Snow. Sorry, Deadpool. I love you both. But Pietro's overall value in PvE and PvP trumps anything. I don't care if you can do stage 100 in War Boss. If a character can come close to 100, right, and then outshine you in another section of the game, then obviously their overall value is much more. Because for me, getting as much as I can out of one character is my priority. If you can only do one thing, right, and do it well, that's dope. But if I can do 50 different things just as good as that one thing you can do, then it's common sense, right? This uniform offers more value. So moving on, we have Rogue, an absolute must-buy, one of the best uniforms of the year, in my opinion, up there with Ronin and Captain Marvel. A character, like 3 characters that rose from the ashes this year, like the Phoenix, goddammit, right? This is an absolute must-buy. It's hoodie season, baby. Rogue is a killer. I'm telling y'all, sugar. So basically, if you care about World Boss, Rogue is going to be there for you. If you want to do a little bit of PvP, spice up your team on any given week, Rogue is going to be there for you. Survivability, damage, she got it. Then we got my guy, Ronin. Like I said, it's hoodie season, baby. And if you like Hawkeye, this is the strongest version of Hawkeye. Probably one of the strongest versions we will ever have. It looks super cool, visually speaking. And he definitely gets it done in World Boss and Shadowland. GBR, not so much. Timeline, not so much. A situational must-buy, but a must-buy nonetheless. Then we have Sabretooth. This one is surprising because I didn't think I would be putting this thing on my list of must-buy for Black Friday, but I played with it extensively, and I gotta say, it's a situational must-buy, but a must-buy nonetheless. He's actually significantly stronger thanks to the new defense down on his third skill in this uniform if you scale it correctly in War Boss Ultimate, and he's much easier to play, right? But it's an expensive uniform because it's very costly to upgrade it. So again, a situational must buy. You have other cheaper alternatives. Moving on, we have my baby Scarlet Witch. And with the recent change to War Boss Ultimate, where Scarlet Witch can now mind control basically every single boss for the entire duration of the fight, these uniforms for her are absolutely essential for every single player in the game. I know some of you guys say I'm a Wanda fanboy and all I ever do is hype her up. Trust me when I say This is not hype. This is facts. Facts over feelings. I'm telling you right now, Scarlet Witch is a game changer because of the mind control on her forward skill. But let's say you don't care about strikers. What else can she do for you? Well, she can do GBR. Basically, every single one of them, including Galactus, right? She can hold her own. And of course, she can do War Boss, Ultimate ABX, and she can do PvP. She's not going to like dethrone anyone in PvP, but she can do it. She's a jack of all trades. Just trying to say. Master of them all as well. Next, we have a situational must buy here. Gotta shout out my guy Miguel Aura, aka Spider-Man 2099. Absolute savage. One of the strongest speed characters in the game. If you have him, you definitely should pick up this uniform on Black Friday. He lays the smack down, no cap. Then we have Thanos in his Endgame uniform. This is not a situational must buy. This is an absolute must buy. Just like Scarlet Witch, just like Jean Grey, this thing is an absolute must buy. Just like Captain Marvel as well. It's one of those ones that will change the way how you play the game. Whether you put him in PvE or PvP, Thanos will always make his presence felt. Don't sleep on the purple raisin, I'm telling you guys. Moving on, we have Thor. And this one is more so for me, more so for the culture, more so for the Thor fans. It's a situational must buy. Unfortunately, he's not up there with Captain America and Iron Man, but he's still a solid universal character in these two uniforms. Even if you had this one previously, these are decent if you're a fan of Thor. So a situational must buy. Moving on, we have an absolute must buy. Listen to me, folks. If you are a new player, if you're free to play, this one is a game changer, right? Before, it was more so a game changer because you didn't have Scarlet Witch constantly mind controlling the boss for the entire fight. So he would offer some survivability thanks to the heal on his forward skill, right? But now that you have Scarlet Witch basically keeping the boss stun lock or mind lock or, you know what I'm saying, mind control for the entire duration of the fight, you may not need his heal as you did before, but who knows what they're going to do in the future. Maybe they'll revert back to the old system. So this uniform right here is an absolute must buy because he makes it so that characters that have crappy survivability but decent damage can actually do very, very well in World Boss Ultimate. He's one of the best strikers and he's a decent low-level Shadowland character. So his entire value comes from him as a striker. If you don't see yourself ever using him as a striker, then more power to you. You can skip over that one. Then we have White Fox. This uniform is absolutely stunning because White Fox has an amazing leadership that can buff some of the best characters in the game, some defense down users. Plus, she has an amazing passive, and overall, she is a fantastic character to play as. Super fun, super safe. And if you like White Fox, it's a situational must buy. She's a support character that can do PvE, and she can do PvP if you're cheeky with her, right? Lastly, we had to do it for the culture, you know what I'm saying? Even though nobody is using this man anymore, this uniform right here shows us what Netmarble can do, and it always has to serve as a reminder, right? That these kind of uniforms are what we have come to expect with every update when we see characters that are in the gutters getting uniforms. This guy right here, Winter Soldier, his uniform, even though, right, it's not at the top of the game anymore, people are not using it as much as they did previously, it is still an amazing uniform. Takes a character from being unplayable to like godly, right? So again, damage wise, and now that you can keep the boss basically mind control for the entire duration of the fight, his survivability, which was kind of an issue before in this uniform, is no longer an issue. All you just have to do is just pick them apart, and he has the damage to do it. Now I know not everyone is gonna agree with me. Some people are gonna say, what about people like War Machine? What about Star-Lord? What about Hulk, Hulkbuster, Emma Frost in their new Phoenix 5 uniform? All those uniforms are very good for the character, but I think ultimately they're only situationally useful. And I wanted to focus this video around uniforms that really make an impact overall in the game. And these are the ones that I think will hold value going into 2020. You guys could debate Winter Soldier all you want, but ultimately I think it's a very good uniform, right? Lastly though, I want to leave you guys with 4 uniforms that you absolutely need to pick up, even though they don't make an impact in the game when it comes to power and performance, because these uniforms are essential for your growth as a player, especially if you are free to play, right? So first one is actually this guy right here, Killmonger. Killmonger is a Shadowland character at best, okay? However, this uniform, if you pick it up, even if you do not have the character, because Killmonger is a paywall character, not worth the money in my opinion, right? Big regret here for me, but the uniform itself is worth purchasing, because if you pick up the Black Panther Legendary Battle and then get this uniform to Mythic, you will get yourself a free CTP of energy. So yeah, keep that in mind. You do need to make sure that you pick up this uniform and get it to Mythic, and since he's a premium character, it's gonna be expensive to do so, but nonetheless, if you want a free CTP of energy, well, I guess it's not free if you're buying something to get to it, but you get what I'm saying. It's another way to get a CTP of energy or any CTP without gambling. For me, getting CTPs without gambling is definitely a blessing, right? The next one you want to definitely pick up is, thankfully, for a free-to-play character, and it's a cheap uniform, and that's actually for Pimptron, because for the Ant-Man and the Wasp Legendary Battle, you get a CTP selector for getting this uniform to Mythic, and you will have the option of picking a CTP of Rage from it. So that is very good. The next one you want to definitely consider is actually for Hela, because getting this uniform to Mythic and just simply completing the free legendary battle for Thor Ragnarok, because you don't need to buy anything for that one, this will give you a free CTP of energy. That's very good. Lastly, you definitely want to pick up this uniform, even though it is not holding any value besides the fact that it gives you one of the best premium comic cards in the game. Now, Super Wolves will tell you that it's not a good card, but look at the card for yourself and you can tell me whether or not you think you could benefit from a card like this. This is a card that's still in my set to this day, and it is going to stay here for a good little while. Energy attack, ignore defense, cooldown, crit rate, crit damage, all attack. The only way this could be better is if it had like a stat that allowed me to roll for physical attack as well, so I could have energy, physical, and all attack together. Perfect, right? I would swap the ignore defense for physical attack. That's basically the only thing I would change on this card. Maybe I would swap like crit rate or crit damage for physical attack and leave ignore defense, but ultimately, overall, this card, 9 out of 10 for me, right? So if you want a really good premium card without gambling for it, you definitely should consider picking up that card. Also, boys, check this out. Netmarble, come on, man. What is y'all doing? Guys, so you remember in the beta I was saying, yo, let's give these guys a chance, right? They may surprise us. They may put the CTP of Judgment, the CTP of Greed, and all that stuff in the selector. No, it's not here. But guess what these guys did? Bruh, check this out. These guys actually went ahead and they made a freaking new CTP selector altogether, just because they didn't want to give us the opportunity to use the old selector on the new CTPs. Like seriously, Marvel Future Fight team, this is how y'all rocking, bro. Y'all made sure to go ahead and create a brand new CTP selector just because you didn't want to give people the opportunity to cop one of the new CTPs without spending money? That's shady, man. Yo, this is why I said I have serious doubts that they'll remove the cap from Phoenix Feathers, M-Crown Crystals, and M-Crown Shards, bro. Because if they're willing to go to this extreme, like create a brand new selector, right, just to make sure that people can't use the original CTP selector for new CTPs, it tells you where their head's at when it comes to finances. They're trying to get everything they can, boys. Anyways, man, we're gonna wrap it up right here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do, man. Smash that like button and show your boy some love. Till next time, stay safe. I love y'all. Peace out.